Welcome to another episode of your daily database insights from Lucite. And I am your favorite host, and I'm going to show you how to quickly check your SQL Server ports and quickly update your SQL Server ports. So, first, the basic, straightforward way to find out which SQL Server port you're running is to go onto the box itself and launch the SQL Server Configuration Manager, and then go to the SQL Server network configuration, protocols for SQL Server, TcpIP, double click that, IP addresses, and scroll down, and you will see here that I am running more than 3 ports on SQL Server. The easiest or the fast way to really confirm the type of ports you're running is by going over here in configuration managers. There are multiple things you can do here on configuration manager. If you look up here, you have different IPs and IP adapters, and therefore it means that you can easily either disable the IP adapter and enable whichever one that you want to use for your SQL Server connection. So in essence, you can have multiple IPs, multiple ports, and different things, etc., to be able to use to connect to your SQL Server. Now, if you were to go ahead and just be able to check this from your SQL Server as well, T-SQL, you can run this dynamic management view. This is going to give you an idea of the ports that are currently being connected, or the SQL Server is listening on that SQL Server box. That is one way to check the ports. Also, you can check that from your error log by running this XP read error log and finding what the server is listening on. If you check this, it's going to show you that it's listening on 225, 226, and 233. And of course, this is the UDP port, which is 1434. Now, the fast way to be able to update your SQL Server port is by coming back over here and, of course, double clicking the TcpIP and just changing this to, let's say, 2046 port. That is the port you want your SQL Server to listen to. Once you click OK, it's going to tell you that you have to restart your SQL Server service for all these changes to take effect. Now you can easily come back here, right click this, restart the SQL Server service, and this is always the easiest way to actually do this. But you can restart your service from different places. Like you can go to local services, you can do it on the command line, you can do it on the graphical user interface on SSMS. There is just a ton of various ways to do it based on the type of goal that you have, including when you're doing automatic stuff. So if you're automating things, then you have a different goal, so you'll restart it differently. So that is being restarted. Now let's go back to SQL Server Management Studio. Now if we try to just go over here and create a new query, we are going to fail to connect, and the reason is now SQL Server is listening on a different port, which is port 246, 2046. So if I may, I'm gonna actually point it to 2046. That is by adding a comma to the server name or to the instance name and the port number, and then I'm just gonna type in my credentials, and now I'm able to connect. Now if I was to find out again from here the port numbers that I'm actually connected to, the first is I'm just going to run the dynamic management view again, and now you'll see that I am only eligible to connect to 2046 port. That is what SQL Server is listening on. And if we look at the error log again and run this here, it's going to show us that we are actually listening on TcpIP 2046 and the UDP port, which is 1434. That's the default port. Now if you are building and updating things automatically, and therefore you're going to need some automatic process to update this stuff. So on my screen here, I have a PowerShell script that I have used to update the TCP ports for several versions of SQL Server. And so for 2014, 2016, 2017, 2022, 2019, And of course, I should be able to add 2025 on this list here. All you need to know is that the update is going to be looking at the specific version number. So there's going to be the specific version number, which is going to be either 12, 13, 14, 16, and 15. My box is a 16. What I'm going to do is I want to update this to, let's say, I'm going to use like 3 ports. And the reason why you may need to use 3 ports is because you may have maybe more than 3 applications, and you want each application to have its own specific port to connect to the SQL Server instance. And that means that they're going to be just a way to manage each and every different application. So I'll grab this PowerShell script. I'll go back into the box, and I will launch my PowerShell script as an administrator. So I'll right click there, run PowerShell as admin, and I will paste that, and I will hit enter or return, and that should update my port. So if I come back to the configuration manager, protocols for SQL Server, TCP/IP, IP addresses, scroll to the bottom, you can see that all those ports have been updated. Now remember, for this to take effect, you have to restart SQL Server, otherwise it will not take effect. So I will restart this, and once this is completed, we're going to go back to SQL Server Management Studio and just validate that our ports look exactly as we need them to look. And of course, since we are having a new set of ports here, my current connections are not going to work. I'm going to have to re-authenticate my connection using the new ports. Alright, so that is up. I will come here, I will try a new query, and it's gonna fail because the ports are different. So let's give it time to think and fail, or let's just cut through the chase and go to the first port, which is 3025. And now I am in, and now we're going to validate the ports again. So if I come up here, I'll run the dynamic management view first, and the view, which is the DM exec connections, is going to show me that I am on port 325. And then if I check on the error log, I have ports 325, 326, and 333 that the SQL Server is listening on. So anyway, this is just a quick way to quickly update your TCP ports on SQL Server database engines. And if you know a friend or anybody who's struggling with managing their TCP ports, you need to show them this video. And if they are still struggling after watching this video, don't hesitate to ask them to contact me directly, because I will point them in the right direction. Thank you and have a good day.